All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Spike Kool-Aid Tuesday, November 2nd, 2022. Your boy will turn 43 this month, so how about that? Man, how are y'all feeling after the TJ Hawkinson trade and the fan reactions over the last 24 hours or so? It's been a little unique to say the least. But Dan Campbell came out and addressed the media today. They wanted to ask him about TJ Hawkinson, and he deferred most of that conversation to Brad Holmes, who is supposed to be addressing the media today. Nate says, I'm letting it breathe. You know what, Nate? I think we all are. I think we all are. Now, is he going to come public? I don't know. It doesn't appear that he is, because it's already tweets. Shout out to my man again, Mr. Poole, for dropping these dimes all the time. There are tweets coming from reporters that Brad Holmes is talking to them currently, and I'm not sure he's going to get in front of like the media in a tape segment or a live segment, because he seems to be already talking about this whole thing. What's up, SW Lion? He says, Derek, I've had a day to think on it. In my opinion, really hasn't changed much. I think it was a bad trade because it was in a division and they gave up 2 picks along with a proven commodity. Well, you know what, SW? I respect that. And that's what I felt yesterday. And I've been hearing a lot over the past 24 hours that we have to get over that it was done in division, that good teams beat other good teams. And if it was in division, so what? You have to beat them, right? Now, here's where I stand on that, okay? And we'll go into the first segment. So good afternoon, everybody. I got on a little early because I got some stuff to do exactly at 3, and I want to make sure I have plenty of time to do it. Now, man, it's so much to talk about. But again, shout out to my guy, Mr. Poole. And, man, we got to talk about this. All right, now, first of all, CBS Sports gave the TJ Hawkinson trade a D- for the Detroit Lions and an A for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, there has been a lot coming out about this over the past 24 hours, and I'm not going to say change my mind, but it's kind of made me look at it a little differently. So remember we talked about this. If you've been watching me for any length of time, I have been saying, watching the Lions games, that TJ Hawkinson doesn't look involved. He doesn't look like he cares to be here. He's got that Matt Patricia look, that Matthew Stafford look. The same they had before they left. Now, one got shown the door and one asked to leave, right? And when he was on Busting It with the Boys, now I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because TJ Hawkinson is the past, right? But when he was on Busting It with the Boys, he looked disheveled. He looked like he didn't care anything about this team. He also, when I heard that they had not had a single conversation about a contract extension, I said, uh-oh, he's gone, right? Now, it's whether you like the trade or don't like the trade, that's okay. That's okay. I particularly don't like it because of we sent him to a division rival and what we got back in the short term. And to be honest with you, period. We gave them TJ Hawkinson and 2 draft picks, albeit they are separated by 2023 and 2024. But we essentially were sellers, right? Do you think that we got more in return? Now, remember, TJ Hawkinson is a first-round draft pick. Not this regime, but a first-round draft pick. We gave them TJ Hawkinson, a 4th, and a conditional 4th that came out later. If the Minnesota Vikings make the playoffs or do this or that, it goes from a 4th to a 5th, right? I don't understand the word fleeced. I'm trying to understand the word fleeced. How does every time the Detroit Lions make a trade, it's almost like these goggles are on with Brad Holmes. Oh, we fleeced them. We fleeced these guys. We fleeced these guys. Did we really fleece anyone? All right. But here's what I wanted to say. I want to get off topic, but I want you to think about this. Now, shout out to my guy, Mr. Poole. Okay. And before I do that, I've got to So I watched Detroit Lions podcast, and Chris made a video today. And he said that they have connections. I don't, but they have connections. He also said something about like we don't copy content and paste it. You get original content here. So I'm not sure if he was talking about like us or he got beef with somebody or what, but of course, we don't have sources. They do. So we bring the fan dynamic in, right? But maybe he was just talking about something. I don't know. I'm sure he wasn't talking about me, right? But if he was, so what? So he said that TJ Hawkinson, he did not want to be here. He did not want to be here. He said that he got tired of watching his friends win, and he doesn't win. And isn't that always the way in Detroit? It's always the way in Detroit where people get tired of losing. In addition to that, shout out to Mr. Poole again, coming from Dave Burkett. It looks like that Brad Holmes had zero intention of retaining TJ Hawkinson. Because TJ Hawkinson still had a year and a half to go as a Lion. And we talked about it. Well, we didn't talk about it yesterday, but they could have slapped the franchise tag on him. We've seen that. We've seen people not play with the franchise tag. They could have done a lot of things. So we would have had him this year. We would have had him next year, right? We could have slapped the franchise tag on him for 2024, and then we could have got a compensatory pick when he didn't resign here. Because that, in all likelihood, is what was going to happen. If you take out Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, who we kept extending year after year, you know what I'm saying? We kept on extending them while they were in their contracts. And we talked about it earlier this week, how a lot of rookies, they don't even make it to year 5 on a rookie deal without extending. That's why I can't believe the New York Giants haven't locked up Saquon Barkley. To me, that's dumb. But it comes out that TJ Hawkinson may not have wanted to be here. Then you couple that with the high price tag that he's going to ask as he becomes a free agent. The only thing we get at that point is a comp pick. We probably would have got a 3rd-round pick for TJ Hawkinson. So when I brought it up that I still don't like it. I still don't like it because it was interdivision, and we gave up more picks than we got. Oh, we got a 2nd-round pick. We gave away a 1st-round pick. So to me, that's a moot point. To me, TJ Hawkinson was still a 1st-round talent. He might not be living up to his potential, but at the same time, it seems like we don't go to him a ton. That could be Jared Goff. That could be the play calling. Minnesota, however, they will go to him. They're going to love him, and he's going to thrive over there. 100%. So if you couple the fact that TJ Hawkinson looked like he didn't want to be here, Brad Holmes had zero intention of bringing this guy forward to a new contract, which would explain why we had no discussions leading up to the season. Look at what's happening with Lamar Jackson over there. So for me, I still don't like it. My main 2 reasons is Minnesota, we gave away a 1st-round pick for a 2nd-round pick. And I already know what the argument is going to be. TJ Hawkinson we're going to get fresh talent. He's turning 25. It seems like, honestly, that a lot of Lions fans want to make excuses of why this was they want to make this a good trade. They want to make it a good trade. Was it a good trade? We really don't know because those people have yet to take the field. And I've been hearing a lot yesterday how TJ was a proven commodity and we have unproven people that we're going to get. And I'll just say this. The second round picks from Brad Holmes have been Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal. The 3rd-round picks have been Ife Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph. Right now, okay, he is 2 for 2, maybe more like 1 for 3, because Pascal is unproven. Kirby is kind of making a name for himself. You could argue that he's 0 for 4, really. Right? And you know what I think that my job is as a fanalist? I wish I had connections to the team, but they would have to they couldn't take the fan out of me. So they would be like, okay, Derek, you can't ask these questions. You can't ask like what the fans want to know. My stuff would be all fan driven. Maybe stuff they couldn't tell us. Tell us something. Give us something, right? We have to see this come to fruition. We have to reap the benefits of this draft, of this trade. Now, we did free up a little bit this year and a lot next year. And I've heard nothing but the free agent, we have enough to do this and do that. And I'm just like, y'all have no idea what's waiting out there for y'all as far as free agency. You have no idea. The free agents that are coming out this year are nowhere near like the ones that were coming out last year. What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up? What's going on? What's up, Dave? What's up, SW? Says Brad Holmes has certainly made it more difficult for Campbell to win now with this trade. That much is obvious. Update, Panay's absence is baby-related, most likely. Yeah, you know what? They said it was anytime soon, man. Anytime soon. Hey, Grid, did you know that Brad Holmes is supposed to be speaking? Yes, that's what I heard. Shout out to Mr. Poole, and Dan Campbell said it, but I can't wait around for him to get on. And, you know, now I'm wondering if he's going to speak to us via the YouTube channel or if he's going to speak to the media and have it translate to us. Plus, it established a precedent with other players. If you complain about the losing and you're a top player, they'll trade you. We shouldn't give up that easy. If it's true that TJ didn't want to be here, I don't want him. If he was that guy, his numbers would have been top 5, but he's not. I agree. I don't want anybody who don't want me, right? I don't want anyone who doesn't want me. Now, this comes from Kyle Minke. Shout out to Mr. Poole. Says, just caught up with Brad Holmes at practice. And this is why I don't know if he'll get in front of us. He still may. He's interestingly, he said he would have made the same deal if the Lions were 1-6. Said Hockenson is a good player, but the deal was better for the present and the long term. Now listen, let's look into that, right? Let's read between the lines. He said he would have made the same deal if the Lions were 6-1. Said Hockenson is a good player, but the deal was better for the present and the long term. Now, could that say to you that the aforementioned things were true? The stuff we just talked about how TJ didn't want to be here. And I'm going by the keyword present. The future is after this season. The present is now. Lions have 10 games left. Freed up a couple $1 million in cap space. Now, Lions didn't buy yesterday. They didn't trade for anyone. They traded away someone, and they got capital for next year. But I wonder if TJ not wanting to be here was an issue. TJ Hockenson also wanted top 5 money. Well, you know what, Mr. Poole, in TJ's defense, right now he's like number 5 or 6 for that, because of that Seattle game. So I'm not mad at him for wanting to get his money. He wanted to get his money. In year 2, he went to the Pro Bowl. He was up there with Darren Waller. I remember coming out of year 2 when he was working out with George Kittle and all that stuff. And I think that's when he started letting the hair grow. But when he came out, that he was like bulking up and stuff like that. And he came out in beast mode. And because of that monster game in Seattle, I think he's number 6. And listen, I do believe he said, you can't trade this. That's honestly what I think he said, if you look back at the video. All right, now more from Kyle Minke about the TJ, and we'll move on. We'll talk about the current team. We've proven that this is from Brad Holmes, and see, this is why I don't think he's going to talk to us, or maybe he will, because then they'll be asking the same thing. Kyle's question was, why would you have traded TJ? Hold on, let me do this, because this might be a better one. Coming from Kyle Minke, his Twitter, shout out to Mr. Poole, 18 minutes ago, says, why would you have traded TJ Hockenson at 1-6? So he's going to elaborate more on the earlier comment about him still trading TJ Hockenson if the Lions were 1-6 for the present, and the future. It was best for the team. This is from Holmes. Quote, "We've proven that our offense can score a lot of points. I'm sure he was a part of it, but a deal would have made sense. It was not based on record whatsoever. I think it was a good deal for the future of the team." And then later on, wait a minute. This is coming from Kyle from 17 minutes ago. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both report directly to Sheila Hamp and Rod Wood. Asked if he has the power to hire and fire a coach, Holmes said, "Guys, I'm not making this an end of season presser or anything about that. This is about the Hockenson trade." So I don't know if he still is going to get in front of us. Zay says, what's up, Zay? Says, first 47 games as a Detroit Lion. Okay, so Zay, you obviously watch Woodward Sports, because I wanted to hear what they said today. And that's probably directly from them. I did see Adam likes to compare TJ to Brandon Pettigrew. So again, Zay, you're late, okay? I'm not going to argue with you today, big dog. You know you're my homie. This is not necessarily about TJ. I've already addressed that TJ allegedly didn't want to be here. And that Brad Holmes said it was better for the team's present and the team's future to trade him away. And I don't know, man. Brad Holmes came through like a boss right there. He said, "We've proven that our offense can score a lot of points," and I'm sure he was part of it. Part of it? That's cold. That's a boss move right there. Now, how does that relate to the current team? Lions didn't make any moves. We talked about it earlier, or I made a video yesterday. On Sidney Jones, the cornerback from the Seattle Seahawks. I believe he was in when we played them. That he was waived yesterday by the Seahawks. They tried to trade him, and they were unsuccessful. And I saw a week ago, we talked about it, that the Lions might have been interested in trading for Sidney Jones. Now, Sidney Jones' stats are horrific. Absolutely horrific, right? But we are hurting in the secondary. Savion Smith, he's most likely done. He's having neck surgery this time next week. He's pretty much done. We'll have 9 games left. I seriously doubt he comes back. And he was waived yesterday. Now, it's 2 o'clock, and he has to be picked up by 4, right? He clears waivers and becomes a free agent, if I'm not mistaken, by 4 o'clock. And I haven't heard anything or seen anything that he's been picked up by us. Now, I made a video yesterday on Detroit Lions Syndicate on how I thought that the Lions could pick him up, similarly to how they did Josh Reynolds last week or last year. Now, check this out. Sidney Jones, y'all ready for this? How this for irony? Did not say that I think he played against us. He absolutely did. He's played 2 games this season. The Broncos, which was their opener, and against the Detroit Lions. He has 5 combined tackles. He has 5 combined tackles. So it looks like he's going to pass right through the waiver wire and hit free agency. I thought possibly that the Detroit Lions could pick him up due to how depleted we are in the secondary and the fact that Amani looks like he regressed. But it doesn't look like we're going to pick him up. Zay says, "I take Jones anything at this point." I think the waiver's clear tomorrow. Okay. Well, I know it's got to be either today or tomorrow. What's up? Single Dads Club. I love that, bro. I was a single dad for a minute. You got it come with the good and the bad, man. But being a dad is awesome, period. So would you take Sidney Jones being on the roster? I mean, I would. I think his salary is like $1.25 million. We actually talked about it last week in one of our segments, and I read some stuff. I would take him. I would take him. And I said yesterday in a video that the Lions have to make a move, but in actuality, they don't right now if they wanted to take him in, because we got rid of TJ. So soon as I don't know if TJ still counts against the roster because he needs to pass the physical unless that's already happened. But when he comes off the roster, there's a spot there, and they could bring in Sidney Jones. Would he be playing this Sunday? Probably not. Probably not. Dave says yes. Single Dad says yes, sir, about being a dad, no doubt. Nate says for the depth, and that's what I was thinking too. I would take Sidney for sure, fits the grit. Yeah, hey, look, Prince, that's all he fit, bruh. That's all that brother fit, because he has only played 2 games. However, against us, he had 4 tackles. So I would take him. I mean, we freed up a little bit with TJ, getting rid of him. And I would take him. I would take him because I think we need all the help that we can get. Because I'm sorry, y'all, I haven't checked out. I have not checked out. I refuse to check out. I've seen mock drafts. I just cannot do it, y'all. So whatever helps this team get better or gives them a chance to get better for 2022, because we still have, 59 days of the year? I am not trying to fast forward. I'll be 43 this month. 43 this month. I am not trying to fast forward my time, because I value my life. I value living life. I remember when, 7 years ago when we went on that run. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping we get a repeat of 2015. Right? When the Lions started 1-7, they went 6-2 in their last 8 games. I'm not saying Sidney Jones is going to help us do that. But hey, whatever it takes for us to win games. Because I'm probably that guy, right? I'm probably that guy that I believe in winning. To me, losers lose, right? That's what they do. And I've always said this since I've been on YouTube. And I'm a firm believer in this. And I love being in the minority. I love it. I can't stand the word tank. I absolutely hate it. I was born in 1979. I was raised by boomers, and there's no such a thing. Now, in this generation, it might be. But I am that word is disgusting to me. I despise the word tank. Okay, Mr. Poole, I despise the word tank. I hate it. And for me, I don't think that you can tank and get better. So if Sidney Jones helps us in any way, I say pick him up. All right, so Mr. Poole is sending, hey, Mr. Poole, the thing from Chris Burke. Oh, boy. I see it. Yeesh. All right, so Zay said read last. Okay, let me see. Didn't James Mitchell make a play last game? Yes, he did. I'm curious what he can do more. Okay, but here's the thing. They're saying that Brock Wright, if he clears concussion protocol, which it looks like he's going to, that he's going to be the number 2. So it looks like that James Mitchell, in the meantime, is going to work his way into that starting role, I guess. I mean, I think that's why they drafted. I think they drafted James Mitchell in anticipation for what happened yesterday. And we all said, and like I said, outside of the division, and this is what would have made this trade okay for me. And we talked about it yesterday. I would have loved, outside of the division, a 2nd and 3rd in 2023. I would have loved that. Now I have a question for y'all. Do you think that selling or trading TJ Hockenson, all right, was a surrendering move by the Detroit Lions for 2022? Because I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that if these grown men and this team is done for this. Remember when Doug Peterson got fired from Philly couple years after winning a Super Bowl? He got fired because he put in a guy who was worse than his quarterback, If I'm not mistaken, he pulled out Jalen Hurts to put in this bum, Nate Sudfeld, when they clearly, if they would have beat the Giants or something, the Giants don't make the playoffs or something crazy like that. He got fired, right? Okay, so Zay says no, they were going to make the decision regardless. I think we just said that, Zay, right before you got here. It was going to happen. I agree 100%. That if we're talking about these grown men who sacrifice their bodies every single day, that they're saying that they don't want to win, that's not what I say at all. Did you see the interviews from the locker room? Taylor Decker, Jamal Williams is a chippy, nice, super nice dude, but he was not having it. He was trying to smile through the pain. Somebody asked him a question. He said, "I'm sick of y'all asking me that." And then the dude walked in and he asked him the same question. He said, "Man, didn't you just hear me?" My man said, "I just got here, bro." You know what I mean? So there's no way this team is tanking. And if I ever found out my team was tanking, they would never get money from me. Tanking is not a thing. I think if they were 4-2, we still could have ended up trading him. They just clearly didn't want to pay him top money. That's what's coming out. That's what's coming out. Although I hate them trading Hawk and our division rivals, it's a decent move. You know what, Single Day? I think it's like, to me, it's like mildly decent. I think decent is actually a compliment, but that's just me and my opinion. Not even about the money. Hawk didn't fit the program. As far as block rush plays, he's not worth tight end money. Okay, so to me, guys, it's only a few guys that is worth tight end money. Andrews, Kittle, Kelsey, Waller. Who else? Who else can we? It's got to be 5 or 6 people. And I'm gonna keep it a buck, man. I think TJ could be in there. If you look at his yards this year, he is in there. He's number 6. He's number 6, right? Zay Pitts, bruh, Pitts has been a no-show this year. He's been a no-show. I put him in my fantasy because Kelsey was off. Do you know Travis Kelsey saves me every single week? My fantasy team was absolutely lost without him and Patrick Mahomes. So I win on both sides, right? So I think, honestly, this is what I believe, and good for him. I think that T.J. Hockenson is going to be top 5 or higher in Minnesota. I think that T.J. Hockenson, and I'm not hurt by this at all. It's a business decision. Dan Campbell said he talked to him yesterday, and it was business. And he was, I'm sure it was a win-win for both sides. But I believe that T.J. Hockenson has yet to hit his potential. Travis Kelsey has been in the league for 10 years, and this man cannot be stopped. I believe T.J. is on his way there. 100%. Now, here's something from Mr. Poole. Again, and if you guys got anything you want me to talk about, you can DM me through Twitter at Lions Syndicate. All right, so I'm going to try to get through this. It says, Tua Tagovailoa carved up the Lions defense on Sunday, going 29 for 36 for 382 yards, most among QBs this week. Now, this is in relation to why Aubrey Pleasant was fired. And 3 TDs. His 95, oh my God, Mr. Poole, me reading this reminds me of what I saw Monday from every single content creator who is a Miami Dolphins fan. This is all they were talking about. His 95 NGS passing score was tied for the highest this season with Jacoby Brissett, also week 8. Tagovailoa had an expected completion rate of 66.9, with his 13.6 completion percentage over expected, clocking in at second highest among QBs this week. Now, here's the part that really takes the cake. He also did not record a single aggressive passing attempt, meaning not a single one of his attempts was made into tight coverage. Wow. Where there was a defender within 1 yard or less of the receiver at the time of completion or incompletion. Tagovailoa also led the league with an average completion in air of 11 yards. So Aubrey Pleasant was fired because every time a receiver caught the ball, it was for an average of a first down. And he threw the ball 29 times. Every time a receiver, tight end, running back, the average boils down to these are air yards. Holy smokes. Now, let me ask y'all a question, because this is an indictment for sure. But do you think that this was Aubrey's fault? I'm not on the inside. I don't know. I know Jalen Ramsey spoke very highly of Mr. Pleasant. I know Jeff Okudah was very high on Mr. Pleasant. And I know that outside of Jeff Okudah, we have no cornerbacks. And I'm going to, I realize what the NFL does, man, like what the Detroit Lions are doing. People like me and other content creators, they need to exist. Because I think that if you're a credential media pass holder, there's a certain box you need to be in, unless you're Dave Burkett. Dave Burkett can ask whatever he wants. That brother, listen, I can't stand Carlos Monarrez, but Dave Burkett, I got mad respect for him. He sounds like he's a fan of the team. Even though he is doing his job, he does it very well. But I still believe in the scapegoat, 100%. I 100% believe that. Because why do you pick the best two? The Miami Dolphins probably have the best 1-2 punch in receivers in the National Football League. Tyreek Hill had 188 yards. Jalen Waddle, and no touchdowns, by the way. Jalen Waddle had 106, and he caught 2 touchdowns. Lion says, how much of a difference do you think having Brian Duker will make as defensive coach? Just defensive back coach? I have no idea, Lion. No idea. At all. Prince says, I think there was miscommunication with AG and AP. They need to fire the defensive line coach first and foremost, or Aaron Glenn. He needs to buckle down on his defensive staff. Well, from what I saw, based on Lions Twitter, meaning the fans, that's how they feel. That's how they feel. Now I've said this before, y'all, and I mean this, man. I think that we all want the same thing. And I think our passion for this team is what makes us different. I don't think that sometimes I might not agree with certain things that I see. Sometimes that I might absolutely hate what your opinion is, right? Not you specifically, but whatever. But I respect it, right? And I think that everybody's entitled to have feelings. But I think that it's some things that you have to call a spade a spade. And I think that Aubrey Pleasant being fired was a scapegoat move. But, we're going to see. We're going to see. Are the cornerbacks going to regress? We actually brought in a few for workout yesterday. I have heard no word on them. Campbell said game plan was to jam the receivers on the line. Is that why Amani was offsides? Maybe so. It didn't happen the whole game. I know they're fast, but when they're standing still, you ought to be able to jam them. Okay, so Lion, here's my thing. As I retort to what he said, not what you said, because I heard that too. It's been 7 games. Whose job is it? Who has the final say-so on what any of these guys do as far as coach? Dan Campbell's title, the last time I checked, was head coach. meaning he's at the top of the coaching food chain. All right. Now, if I'm Dan Campbell and you did something, unless you were specifically told to do it by the head coach and you said, I'm going to do what I want to do, then we have a different discussion. But we don't know that, though. We don't know if that's what happened. But if you are telling these gentlemen to do the job and they're not doing the job, all right, did he tell Aubrey to replace them? Did he talk to Amani and these guys himself, meaning the players? Because at the end of the day, what always happens, y'all? Players are responsible, I would say 9 times out of 10 for getting coaches fired. Like we discussed in yesterday's show. Frank Reich made a coaching decision. He didn't care anything about Matt Ryan getting $25 million or 12, whatever it is, next year. His concern is his job, right? So my whole point is Dan Campbell could have said, hey, now, like I said, we don't know if that conversation was had between him and Aubrey. But if it was had or whatever, you pull these guys off to the side, Amani, AJ Parker, whoever it is, and say, hey, what are you doing? This was the game plan. Why didn't you do it? Now if they say, well, coach never said nothing. Okay, then we got a problem. So if this was insubordination, I understand. But it's hard to say that not being on the inside because Aubrey is revered. Jalen Ramsey loves him. Jeff Okuda loves him. Jerry Jacobs put out a tweet yesterday or Monday, loves him, right? So what was the reason that he got fired? All right, what's up, McKenzie? Says, bro, we was talking about that on your live, why they were just letting them run off the line, something going on behind the scenes. So what you think, McKenzie? You think what a sabotage? You think maybe it was a saboteur? Whether it was Aubrey or Okuda, Amani, because listen, I'm putting it on Amani. Have y'all seen the play? Have y'all seen the play with him on the other side of the ball? Like, I've never seen that. In all my years of watching football, I've seen neutral zone infraction. I have never seen a defender in this, a cornerback lined up on the complete other side of the ball, the other side of the ball, looking at the ball, realizing, seeing the same view the refs do, and not even move back. Compare the way Campbell treated Anthony Lynn to the way he's treating Aaron Glenn. It smacks of preferential treatment. That is a fantastic statement. 100%. And here's my thing. If your defense is historically bad, it is historically bad. Don't forget, the Lions allowed 31 points against the Miami Dolphins, and they allowed 29 against the New England Patriots. And somebody please let me know if Brad Holmes pops up. Because if he says something worth talking about, we'll get back on. Aaron Glenn, to me, is the guy that needs to be fired. How is it possible? How is it that possibly only a Dan Campbell coach team will line up on the opposite side? Yeah. Look at the play, bro. Look at the play. Now, what do you think? We'll just go back to TJ Hockenson for 1 minute. What do you think of the grade? D- for the Lions, A for the Minnesota Vikings. And do you think he's going to destroy us in week 14? I do. We don't have a single linebacker that can cover him. He had to be chased down by defensive backs when he broke out. So it's going to be a long week 14. They trying to get Campbell fired. Look at the 3rd and 13. They played 10 yards back. Who does that? Ooh. Well, that would mean, McKenzie, that he's lost the locker room. That would mean that he's lost the locker room. All right, so here's what I don't understand. These are the dumb comments, and I'm sorry. This is okay. This is why these dumb comments like this. All right, somebody just commented on the scapegoat video. How can he be a good DB coach when the players are bad, yet we're highly ranked draft picks? That's bad coaching. Stop making excuses for him. Okay, sir. We have one highly ranked draft pick in our defensive backfield. We have one highly ranked, highly drafted, Jeff Okudah, 3rd overall. Jerry Jacobs, undrafted. A.J. Parker, undrafted, if I'm not mistaken. Amani, a 5th-round pick. Will Harris, a 5th-round pick. Wasn't he? 3rd or 5th, right? One of them. Kirby Joseph, a 3rd-round pick who's playing very well in his limited time. I don't understand dumb comments like this. This is stuff that gets me riled up. He can't be a guy who watches this thing. God. Oh, anyway, Derek, I agree. Where were the coaches when they saw the players not jamming? That's what I'm saying. So, Lion, if they're telling him, if Aubrey is saying, hey, fellas, you need to do this, and they're not doing it, I yank them out. Or I say, listen, I got to tell big MCDC on you because you're not doing what I told you to do. Because you better believe that, listen, here's the hierarchy in this thing. Everybody under Dan Campbell answers to Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell answers to Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes answers to Rod Wood, and Rod Wood answers to Sheila Ford. There is a hierarchy in the NFL. So if you're not doing what I told you to do, then you need to be relieved of your position. Simple as that, right? I don't know. But like I said, Brad Holmes is supposed to be in front of the media. That's what the word was. I've been refreshing the Detroit Lions website to see if he's going to say anything today, but as of yet, not yet. Now, no word on Jameson Williams coming back, being cleared to practice. And it was funny because I watched Stoney and Jensen, and they interviewed Jared Goff on Monday, and they thought they were slick. They tried that. They asked him, has Jameson Williams been practicing? and I'm saying to myself, no, he ain't been practicing. Because if he was, we would know. That's going to be big news. That's going to be huge news. And Jared Goff was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I want to say this was Jensen, right? The guy with the glasses. And Jared Goff's like, what do you mean? No, has he been out there running routes and blah, blah, blah? Jared Goff was like, no, he's not at practice. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's not at practice. He's not been cleared to practice. So either you trying to catch me up or you don't know what you're talking about, right? So I thought that was funny. But there is a name that did get cleared. His 21-day window started today. That is Mr. Jason Kabinda, the fullback. Yippee-ki-yay. Our fullback has his 21-day window has been activated, which means that we will see him in 3 weeks. Yeah, the media is messed up, man. And I think that's why we're coming up more and more and more. Now, Single Dad, I missed his comment. He says, unless Aubrey was complicit with the players disobeying. Exactly. Which would mean that there's some saboteuring going on. But how highly they spoke of this man, the little bit we saw of him on Hard Knocks, that's hard for me to believe that he's cohorting with some guys trying to get him fired. You know what I'm saying? Doug Peterson pulled out Jalen Hurts when they were dominating. Like, what are you doing here? Like, you can actually win this game. I don't think it was dominating. They were, like, in it. That was all on him. And everybody was like, even the broadcasters was like, what are you doing? Why would you pull this man out? I don't understand. You know what's funny, man? I'll just say this real quick. When I started on YouTube, I started 30 minutes doing 30-minute post-game shows by myself, recording with my cell phone, a long time ago. I've come a long way since then. And then as I got in these groups, part of the DSA, part of Infinite Sports Network. No, I'm not afraid to say their names. It was something, it's in my history. Everybody knows. I kind of got used to a group. And I've been used to having somebody rebuttal me. You know what I'm saying? Having somebody to feed off of. And then I got start doing it with Trox and all that stuff. And I was wondering if I could get back in this space. One thing I know I can do is I can talk. For a fact. I can come up with stuff, have a nice flow, not to brag or anything. But I was a little nervous. Can I get back in this space by myself? Can I do this by myself? The goal is to, I've talked to Jay from Let's Talk Lions. I'm going to reach out to other creators as well. And hopefully we're going to start talking about more than just the Detroit Lions. We had to start somewhere. I wanted to bring in the college playoffs today. I think Michigan, it got done really, really wrong. But, we're going to see. They still got 4 games to go, finishing at Ohio State later this month. Last game of the season. I think they should definitely be in. So, but we going places. What's up, Bridgeburg? What's going on, man? David says, sounds like Amani had a concussion if he's lining up on the wrong side of the field. That is funny. I'm sick of Kabinda. He hasn't even played yet, although he's great at podcasts and charity events. Just don't think he really has a place on this team. You know what? SDC, I agree with you 100%, bro. Unless you Kyle Juszczyk, like real talk, what are you doing as a fullback? Honestly, if we can put Brock Wright back there as a fullback, then that tells you a lot about a fullback. Like back in the day, fullbacks was vital. Y'all remember, the fullback Lorenzo Neal for the San Diego Chargers. He used to be in front of LT all the time, and he could catch. We got a superstar, Derek Watt, the machine. Yeah, exactly. Now, before we wrap this show up, we've talked about Sidney Jones. Will the Detroit Lions clear him or pick him up off waivers? We are first up, okay? Brad Holmes is live right now. Prince J, thank you so much. Okay, let me see. Is it on Detroit Lions? Because we'll bring that in. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Okay, Detroit Lions. Okay, Josiah, bruh. Listen, my thing is this. If you come in late, try to fill out what we talking about, because you want some yesterday stuff. What you talking about, Josiah? You late, bro. You literally came in at the end of the show. We are not even talking about the state of our team currently. All right, I don't see him up right now. I just see the press conference from earlier. So if anybody sees it active, let me know. I am on the Detroit Lions YouTube page, and I don't see anything about them being live right now. What's up, Drew? Okay, so while I wait to get an update on that, I want to talk about DeAndre Swift, and we'll wrap this up with that. Now, listen. We talked about this yesterday, and a lot of y'all would have had a fit. I am one of them. That the Detroit Lions were in active talks, and it came very close to trading Jamal Williams. Now, there was compensation that was talked about. And again, we are waiting on Brad Holmes to address the media about the TJ Hockenson trade. And I don't see anything right now. But Jamal Williams, why would we have traded him? That's the thing I don't understand. If these are true, maybe they weren't. They were getting calls on Jamal Williams. But my thing is, and I know a lot of y'all going to disagree with me, I would rather trade Swift. Nate says that would have been the one to break this team, 100%. I said it in my video yesterday, Jamal Williams is the heartbeat of this team. St. Brown is the lifeline. He the dude that you can always call when you need some help. If listen, I'm on Rise the veins. He's the thing that keeps this thing moving. But the heartbeat, the thing that must pump for you to stay alive is Jamal Williams. And I would have never thought I would ever feel like that about an ex-Green Bay Packer. Brad says, Brad was also shopping Swift, Amani, and Okuda. Yeesh. So you know what that sounds like. And Jay says, yes, please trade Swift. Now, that doesn't mean he can't get traded in the offseason. And the reason I brought his name up is because he is not 100%. He was not 100% on Sunday. He said he wasn't 100%. Dan Campbell said yesterday that he might have gave him one too many carries. The man had 5 carries. He should have gave him 4. He had 6 yards and 24 receiving. Josiah says, nah, bro, Swift can be a superstar. Okay, Josiah, I got a question for you, my man. How old are you? He could be a superstar. Okay, so is it because that TJ Hawkinson, we didn't value him like we value Swift? The best availability is availability. Right? He is never available. I think Dan missed snaps. Yeah, I know. Now, I believe nobody's going to want a running back who keeps getting hurt. I've heard that Saquon Barkley is injury prone. The dude had a blown out knee. That's not injury prone. Injury prone is you out every 5 games. A season-ending injury is not injury prone. Now, if you have 5 season-ending injuries, then you need to retire, right? That was because it hurt his trade value. Dan knew what he was doing. Nate. Never thought about that. Never thought of it. So you're saying put him out there, let everybody see him fall down, right? Which DeAndre Swift doesn't do. It's funny how this guy didn't get a lot of carries in college. He didn't have a huge workload. He get here, he can't stay healthy. Josiah, so you 21, bro. Okay, I got you. The reason I asked that, you don't remember Kevin Stewart, James Stewart. You don't remember Javid Best, the brief time he was here. You know what I'm saying? You don't remember those guys. You remember Kerryon Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you don't remember Barry Sanders played 10 years, was available, and did nobody do what he did. Now, granted, he got touched and he got away a lot of the times, but he also had a bunch of negative yards. Jamal has not been hurt all year. He will be valuable when it's time for us to contend. Will he, Josiah? Now, I'm not trying to pick on Josiah, but I'm interested in how many of you feel like he does. I asked this question last week, and I'll ask it again today. Do you think, I said after DeAndre Swift came back from his initial injury being held out, do you think he'll finish the season? And I'll ask that question again. When he comes back, do you think he'll be able to finish the season? We have 10 games left. Now, officially, he came back last week. But I'll cut him I'll give him a 1-game cushion. Swift is a bust. I don't like to put bust labels on second-round picks, Jay. I think the bust label is only reserved, in my honest opinion, for first-round picks. Jake says Swift will miss more games this season. Lions Mania says he's not a bust. I think he's not a bust because he was a second-round pick. Does he live up to his potential? He does not. But neither does the guy for the Ravens. What's the dude for the Ravens? Not JTT, who went before Swift, right? No, who went before? Clyde Edwards. He was the first one off the back. Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They took him. Then it was somebody else and then Swift. I think it was 3 running backs in a row. Who's the running back for the J.K. Dobbins? ES comes in. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Nate, I wish you was in here the other day, man. I would have modded you up. Swift is potential wrapped in a paper towel. No, he wrapped in bubble. Y'all remember the word? Y'all remember the? And I want to be mean, man. These guys get hit for a living. I couldn't imagine what that was like, what that would be like. So I don't want to be overly critical. But I preface that by saying this: you are in the National Football League. It's what you do. It's how you will be judged. You will be judged based on your production. 100%. When Kayvon Thibodeau got hurt and didn't play the first 4 games of the season, they were already throwing the bus label on him. He got hurt, out of his control, right? What's up, Roman? Says Grid, I really think the Lions are going to target Gesicki once the season ends. Hey, Roman, I'll take Gesicki. Long as we don't overpay him and long as he don't do the gritty. Please, Mike Gesicki, don't you dare gritty up in our end zone. This brother grittied up the entire field. It was ridiculous. Looking stiff as ever. See, maybe we could, because I don't know what the Brock Wright stuff is looking like at all. Okay, so it looks like Brad Holmes. Okay, so he did. Oh my goodness, he didn't. Shout out, Mr. Poole. Okay, let's do this. All right, we'll do this and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so apparently Woodward Sports has somebody on the inside. I didn't know that. I would love to be there one day. Brad Holmes, they didn't stream it. The brother is getting swarmed by the media. Let me see if I can pull this in real quick. We will end our segment with this. Give me a second, guys. But Brad Holmes is already talking, and it doesn't look like it's going to be – they'll probably post it on Detroit Lions, the YouTube page, after we're done, like they did Sheila. Remember we got off last week, and Sheila everything showed up. I was like, bruh. Yeah, I don't really care for them either. I think Adam puts on the show. I think he imitates Mike Valenti, and I think that's his whole shtick is to do that. But, you know, kudos to them. They came in, took the market over, and it's what, oh, you know what, let me do this. Let me go back here, and let me go here. Okay, now, shout out to Mr. Poole, man. Always coming through in the clutch. This is Brad Holmes. Lions GM Brad Holmes. Okay, hold on, here we go. Lions GM Brad Holmes addresses the media on the decision to trade T.J. Hockenson during yesterday's trade deadline. This comes from this video comes from WoodwardSports.com.
First of all, I want to publicly express my appreciation for everything that TJ did for us. He's a good, productive football player for us, and you know, we had a great relationship since I've been here, and wish him all the best. Besides when we're playing him going forward, but he was a good player for us, and you know, all the moves that we make really is. They're well thought out. It's strictly the best interest of the football team, and that is it. Nothing's impulse, nothing is knee jerk, and you know, we're really well thought out, well planned, and you know, we strive to be the best we can, and you know, as adept as possible with all the you know tough decisions that we had to make for the present and future of our football team, and I do think that this move was reflective of that.
All right, so that was your GM. Brad Holmes. Now, the reason I brought up me talking earlier that I can talk is because I could do 2 hours by myself, like real talk. No segments, no nothing. But the plan is to get there. I'll be eventually appearing on camera, but that's a different subject for a different time. Okay. Now, listen. Yesterday, I was very hard on this man. I was very hard on Dan Campbell. And I will not change my position on that. But this here lets you know that kind of what I said was true, right? Now, in the NFL, you don't know how long a player or a regime really has, right? Do you know when Matt Patricia was here, what I heard was, well, they gave him 5 years. Well, they fired him after 2.5. They're currently still paying him, okay? Will the moves that they're making now save this regime? Are they in need of saving? Okay. This told me that by him saying it was calculated, shout out to Mr. Poole, because we talked about this to start the show when we brought up TJ Hawkinson, that this was not an impulsive move, which means that they have planned ahead and they planned for this when they drafted James Mitchell. If you have a tight end like TJ Hawkinson, you have Zane Zelstra, you have Brock Wright on the roster, and you take a tight end who's hurt in the the fifth round. The reason I brought up he was hurt because he's going to need some recovery time. But now I think they played a dangerous game. They played a dangerous game because TJ could have been hurt and he wouldn't have gone anywhere. Or if he did, we weren't going to get nearly what we got for him, which some of y'all believe was a steal. That's your opinion, right? This tells me that it's a calculated decision. Now, I'm conflicted here. Because at the end of the day, this comes down to wins, correct? We can all agree. You can think out decisions, you can do this, you can do that, but it comes down to wins. Is this move going to help the Detroit Lions win? We discussed yesterday that nobody, and I do mean nobody, is going to say we're in year 3 of a rebuild. Nobody's going to say that, right? Who's going to say because how long do rebuilds take? Even if you had to tear it down. Okay? So our expectations for year 3 have to be higher than they are now. Because if these guys are as calculated and as thought out as they say they are, this move was not an impulsive decision. That means they have something up their sleeve. Now, some believe that we talked about it yesterday, that the Detroit Lions are now going to trade back up to the first round, and they're going to take 3 players. They're going to take 3 players in the first round. That's what all of this was about, 3 players in the first round. Now, if you look at the Detroit Lions draft capital for 2024, it went down, okay, based on giving Minnesota Vikings a conditional 4th round pick. We're either not going to have a 4th or 5th that we're going to give to them. Like, where has he made mistakes, says Josiah. Okay. Josiah, if you look at his 2nd round picks right now, okay, in addition to that, Jameson Williams, to me, made me feel his trade. Y'all remember how it was if you watch Detroit Lions Syndicate. It was livid. I was livid because I'm like, bro, we could have used that on defense. Our offense was number 1 in the league without Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is a luxury pick right now. Those aren't my words. Those are the stats. We put up 27 points without Jameson Williams. 45 points without Jameson Williams. Now, we did have TJ Hawkinson. So now Brock Wright has to fill that middle, him and Amon-Ra. So my thing, and I begin this segment by saying, I still think they need to win. They need to win. Right? Last year, we knew we were going to be a dumpster fire. ESPN, CBS Sports, NFL.com all had us 3-14. That's what they had us. This year, NFL.com, ESPN, NFL, all of them, CBS Sports had us at 6-11. We have jumped by 100%. In 2023, trading away TJ Hawkinson, calculated move by Brad Holmes, where do you see the Detroit Lions? The more calculated his moves are, in my opinion, the less time he has. To me, I don't know what Sheila's doing, but to me as a fan, if your moves are so calculated, you're telling me that you're not MacGyvering this stuff, that's good to know. That means you have a plan, right? That means that you have a plan, and that means that year 3 was always the year. Do you think we can agree on that? That year 3 was always the year. Because it appears as though when they came into the season, he was not going to re-sign TJ Hawkinson, as we discussed when we first started this. Nate says he put himself on the clock today. Dave says sounds like Brad is getting a quarterback in the draft. They did say a 3-year rebuild. Clearly, he's playing the long game. Now, my retort, as y'all can see, that's like my favorite word. My retort to that is, in the NFL, you don't know how long you have. And one thing that I hope is that if my owner values her fans and the fans of this team that has been in the poverty since I've been alive, said, except for Barry Sanders, we've been in the cellar. She has to be anything less than contending, to me, is failure in year 3. Anything less than, so Jake says, what do you think we do with the first and 2 second picks next year? Well, yeah, we got 2 first and 2 seconds. If you let speculation tell it, Mr. Phipps, we are trading back up to get someone else in the third round, in the first round. And if they do that, and like you said, Nate said it the best. He said he put himself on the clock today. Think about this, y'all, which means that they are already calculating what they're going to do next year. Now, we will end on this because this stuff get good, bro. And like I said, phone line's going to be coming. Eventually, I'm going to be on camera. But we'll end with this because I never get off in an hour. We will end with this. It has been reported since yesterday. Ditching TJ Hawkinson, right? And I'm going to go in there with Josiah. That's what I was going to go. If we get rid of Jared Goff, Vitae, and a few other players, we will have upwards of $65 million next year to do something with this team. And I'm going to say this. I don't think a lot of difference makers are out there in free agency. This year, there were difference makers for sure. Bobby Wagner. There are potential difference makers. Allen Robinson. This year, there's only about 5 of them. And one of them is Saquon Barkley. Okay? Who is 25, by the way. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Mr. Poole says, no matter what happens the rest of this season, free agency and the draft, I'm holding their feet to the fire, both Dan and Brad. And see, this is why I like this dialogue. I like this. YouTube gives us a voice. We get to talk about it. What do I think about Will Levis from Kentucky? I know that he's older than the average person coming into the draft. I think he's 25, 26, somewhere around there. Reminds me of Brandon Wheaton as far as age. But I know he's a big dude, 6'4"? He's a big guy. And a lot of people would actually take him. But I think that we might need to scale it back as far as what we think Brad Holmes is going to do with this money. Y'all think he gonna cut Jared Goff. And I think that he may or may not. We're not going to know until Jared Goff is shown his papers. It will be a post-June 1st designation. We know that for sure. I wouldn't be so sure that I'm not saying he's not going to draft Bryce Young or a quarterback, period. What I'm saying to you is we're already packing Vitae. He might have to go. It is a handful of Detroit Lions that may or may not go. And if Jared Goff is probably the biggest one, $30 million or something like that comes off our cap. But if you look at the free agent pool for 2023, it is not that big. David says Lamar Jackson. David, I love you, bro. I love you, bro. But I do not want Lamar Jackson anywhere near this team. And this is why I love this platform, because I can say it. You can say what you want. We all can say. You can start a channel. I don't want Lamar Jackson anywhere near this team. If we're going to get a quarterback, get a quarterback. I am not a fan of Lamar Jackson at all. For all them fancy things that he does with his feet, he makes one good throw for every 5 bad ones. I don't want nothing to do. In addition to that, if y'all thought the Jared Goff cap hit was going to be huge, he won $250. As a matter of fact, he turned down $250 million. $50 million? Who do you think he is? Kelsey Clinton? He turned it down. I don't want anything to do with Lamar Jackson. However, I will say this. I will say this. What we know is what we don't know. We know what doing these things will do. We don't know if we'll do them, right? When it comes to if we cut Jared Goff, who can be a veteran backup or a veteran leader who is on our roster, right? We're going to go have to sign somebody the likes of Teddy Bridgewater. We're going to have to sign the likes of a second, like a backup quarterback at best. When in my opinion, yes, this backup. Remember now, and this is perfect. This is perfect, y'all. Brad Holmes just came out and said that the TJ Hockenson move was calculated, which means that the Jared Goff move was calculated, which means we don't know. We don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo, very possible. But I know, I didn't look into the details, that Jimmy Garoppolo had a no-trade clause in his new contract that he signed. But there's like a caveat or something to it. Right? So the biggest conundrum this year for me is Jared Goff. And the reason I say that is because he frees so much cap space. But in my opinion, it puts us back to where we were when we got Stafford. In my opinion, we're worse off than when we got Stafford. Because when we got Stafford, we either had it was either John Kitna or Dante Culpepper when we drafted Matthew Stafford. Right? Jared Goff is the biggest conundrum. It's not the free agency. It's not a bunch of guys. They're like a smidget better than the people we re-sign. Jared Goff got to go. Well, Prince, that ain't your decision. It ain't none of our decision. None at all. Remember, Brad Holmes is a calculated GM. It's funny that y'all, and we talked about this yesterday, and I'll wrap this up. Brad Holmes, the GM that y'all want to put the crown on, who just came out and said that TJ Hockenson, the trade was a calculated decision, which means that Jared Goff was a calculated decision, which means that y'all want to get rid of him, and Brad Holmes calculated him being here, right? Now, right now, the calculation stands as follows. Do we or do we not cut him? Brad Holmes knows if that's in his calculation. Maybe he calculated with the intent to draft Bryce Young all along. Maybe that's why he got Jamison Williams. But you know what we don't know is what's going to happen. What we do know is based on his words, he's a calculated GM. Okay, Nate. Hopefully JG sees the writing and restructures his deal to be team friendly, because who taking on JG like that? I think he will, Nate. I think he will. I 100% thinks he will. I do also believe that I think that JG also wants to be here. But I think he'll go somewhere and he'll be fine. I think similar to how TJ Hockenson is going to do, he's going to light it up. I honestly believe that. I think he's better than Carson Wentz. He could go over there. I think he's better than at least a handful of starting quarterbacks in the National Football League right now, and Carson Wentz is one of them. Nick, what's up, big dog? Says cut Goff, then re-sign Bridgewater and draft their QB. Yeah, that's an option. I think as we go into the offseason, that is my biggest conundrum is Mr. Jared Goff, the man everyone loves to hate. Will he be a Detroit Lion this time next year? It won't. Listen, the Detroit Lions will not cut Jared Goff before the draft unless they either A, have the first pick locked down, or B, they don't care. They don't care to tip their hand. He has all these savings happen post June 1st. So if they're gonna cut him, it's gonna be like they did Trey Flowers. They designated Trey Flowers in March. But I think when it comes to Jared Goff, unless we have the first overall pick, trading him, which is what they would have to do, or cut him or whatever, is going to tip our hand. And I don't think Detroit wants to do that. Well, I'll put it like this, and we'll get off, man. I want this team to win. If that means Jared Goff, that means Jared Goff. If that means Jared Goff tutors Bryce Young, that's what that means. If that means that Goff is on his way out and Bryce is on his way in, and it can be a smooth transition where Bryce is comfortable or quarterback A is comfortable, I'm all for it. I just don't want to see Jory Harrington 2.0. I don't want to see Matthew Stafford 2.0. And what I mean by that is have a team. Have a team, because I believe in my heart that year 3 is a big year for this regime. All right, y'all. With that being said, man, fantastic, bro. Appreciate the show. We are doing big things. Like I said, I've been thinking about all I've been thinking about is you guys, man. No, all I've been thinking about is what is my setup going to be? What's my studio bill going to be? What kind of lights am I going to have? That's going to be my off-season project. I want to do it before the off-season. Go to IKEA, give me a little desk. I've been looking at inside studios, lighting, stuff like that. To do this thing, man. So I appreciate all y'all. Josiah says, like, y'all got to be real, man. How long look it took Tampa or Miami or Cincinnati or Cleveland? Well, Josiah, I'm assuming you mean as far as the rebuild. They drafted young defensive players and franchise QB. They also have a ton of stud receivers that were built through the draft. Boyd, Higgins, Chase. But look at what happened without Jamar Chase. Come on, man. Look at what happened to the Cincinnati Bengals. They got their throat caved in by a team that was 2-5. Now, I'll say this, man. I'll let y'all go for this Wednesday afternoon. I am, y'all going to see some stuff from me on Detroit Lions Syndicate. I will be doing a how the Detroit Lions can make the playoffs beginning week 11. If they are not mathematically eliminated, I will be doing that video. It's what I do. It ain't something I just came up with this year. I've been doing this. Go check the tape. Go watch Gridiron Blitz. I've been doing this since I've been sitting at my dining room table in 2018. It's what I do. That's how I live. That's where my hope is at. My hope is not in Bryce Young, because Bryce Young is not a Detroit Lion. Who knows? We might win 4 more games. That might put us out the top 10 or at 10, and we miss out on all these guys. Or we use the Matthew Stafford pick and trade up. One thing I know is that we better have some D. We better not be ranked 32 in anything next year. At all. At all. And I mean that. I want the Lions to make the Packers 3-6. Just, I don't think the NFL will allow it. Now, check this out. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to y'all because y'all a small audience. You know, as YouTubers, we put ourselves out there. We make predictions, right? And we get held accountable. But guess what, y'all? I think the Lions win the next 2. I think the Lions win the next 2 games. Y'all know I'm huge in NFL narrative. You know that. And Aaron Rodgers' time is over. His time is over. Double back-to-back MVPs. His time is done. He's on his way out. Expect him to retire this year or next. The Green Bay Packers didn't even make a trade for anyone. They could have traded for some receiver from whoever. I think the Lions win the next 2 games. It's not based on anything but we at the crib, and I think we best Chicago. And the reason that I'll say that is because it's coming on 2 years since our last road win. And guess what team it was against? The Chicago Bears. And guess when it was? The week after Matt Patricia got fired. How fitting would it be for the Detroit Lions to win their first road game in 2 years, with the new head coach who's never won a road game, the same place that they won with their interim head coach 2 years ago? Yes, Zay, that's facts. We stopped their run, and we win the game. Josiah, I don't stop tanking. I don't support tanking because tanking is for losers. Tanking is for losers, bro. And I don't think any of these players support tanking. I don't think they're going out there. Let me put it like this. If the Detroit Lions were tanking, they would have ensured that they did not beat the Green Bay Packers. They would have not gone 3-3 in their last 6 games. Tanking is for losers. And it's also not a proven way to work, that it gets you better. Miami picks multiple first round for top 10 picks. The Giants, the Jets, none of them teams is tanking. How about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Trevor Lawrence, Trayvon Walker. Hey, let's not get it twisted. This team is 2-6. The Jaguars are 2-6. We're 1 win away from them being back-to-back first-round picks. Back-to-back overall picks. Don't sleep. The Commanders, they all of a sudden 4-4 or something like that. Don't forget, we beat that team. Tanking is for losers. That's what it is. And if you believe in it, hey, I'll let you fill out the rest. Josiah, it does not work. It does not work. And if I swear to you, if I found out that my team was tanking, they would not get another cent from me. My eyeballs would not put any eyes on them. It has not made us. I'll leave y'all with this. We've been saying I told you, every time we about to get off the show, get good. For our Detroit Lions, can you tell me when is tanking work? No, Josiah, I know. If we went on, because I tell you what, I would give up all the years of pain that I would give up. There's no way. See, like I said, Josiah, you 21, bro. 21, that puts you, 2000, right? 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. So you're a wee little lad, and I'm not trying to be funny. You were a lad when we went 0-16. You were a lad, bro, when we sitting there in front of our TV looking at Dan Orlowski run out the back of the end zone. Jared Allen pointing at him laughing. You were a lad, man, when we were looking at our TV saying, Lions, just win one. Just win one. Hoping that our beloved franchise does not become the first team in the history of the NFL to lose all 16 games. We're not talking about the 72 Buccaneers. We're talking about a 16-game season, not a 14-game season. If you can sit there and tell me that you would sit through that again, and then look where it put us, babyface Matthew Stafford, and we watched him get tortured for 12 years. We were so happy for him that we rooted for the Detroit Rams. And you tell, not you, Josiah, but tanking is not a thing. There's no way you cannot pay me to sit through the 0-16 season ever again. Ever again. I'll just leave y'all with that. Tanking is for losers, and I am a strong believer that if you believe in your team losing now to get better, that is the wrong mentality. Because if you're a Detroit Lion fan, you had the second overall pick Hall of Famer Calvin Johnson in 2007. 2 years later, and with Megatron Hall of Famer, we didn't win a single game in 2008. Arguably one of the best receivers of all time, generation. With that beast of a man, we couldn't win a single game. And we're talking about tanking. We can't be serious. You build through the draft, as Brad Holmes would say, by being calculated. And we're going to see how that turns out. But there's my 2 cents, y'all. I do what we usually do to wrap this thing up. I think this is going to be the way I wrap it up from now on until I get some type of theme music or something like that.
Well, we out of time.
We are out of time. Massive threat, CJ was. Love watching him. Hey, Gary, you remember when he was out, bro? Like when he was injured? It wasn't the same. It wasn't when Calvin Johnson was out, it wasn't the same. You talking about something that broke my heart when he retired, bro. I was devastated. I was devastated. It was like Barry Sanders 2.0. I was 22 years old going on 22 when Barry Sanders retired. It felt like somebody took a piece of me. Watching him do all the things that he did. I was young for 1991, 92, so I have vague memories of that. But seeing him run, he was Calvin before Calvin. Like you wanted to see Barry Sanders. People came from all over to see him run in real life. So that's it, y'all. Go check out Woodward Sports, I guess. It's on their website, what Brad Holmes said. I don't think he gets in front of the media today because this looks like this was it. The reporters are all in his face. All in his face. But he said that he's building, it was a calculated move, and he's building for the future. So the future is next year. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate y'all.